What is going on, everybody out there in the YouTube trucking community? Sean Cahalan, Christian Brother Trucker, coming at you again with another video. And today I got a good one for you. Breakdowns. So, started training about 2 months ago, and I'm on my third or fourth trainee. I trained so many people I can't even keep count. But I've had a check engine light on my truck. And I've had this truck for about 3 months, and when I originally got into it, I noticed that it was idling funny. And what I mean by funny is the truck's idle at about 500-600 RPM, and this thing would go in between 5 and about 6, 5, and 4, and would come up and go down, and it would make this chirping sound like a bird. And I thought, well, that's odd. I've never heard anything quite like that. And once it would warm up, it would stop doing that, but it kind of indicated to me that there was something wrong with the fuel delivery system. The truck should idle, and it should idle smooth. And this truck had about maybe 180,000 miles on it. It's got about 225,000 on it now. So anyway, I kept on driving it, and then I got a check engine light that came on. And that check engine light's been on for about a month and a half. And I originally said something to the shop, and I said, I'm getting a check engine light, and then I'm getting an intermittent service engine light. And so there's more than one on your dash, and they're both yellow. And so I said, and it's idling funny. I think this has got something to do with the fuel system or something to do on the intake. And so they pulled it in, and they cleared the codes, and they said, oh, your truck's good to go. We cleared the codes, and there's nothing, you're not throwing any faults, and so the truck should be good to go. So I got back in the truck, I fired it up, and the check engine light came right back on again. So I took it back over to the shop, and they cleared it off again. And then it didn't come back on for about another day and a half or something like that. But anyway, it came right back on again. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I've said it to them. They know that it's there. They know that the check engine light's coming on. So I'm going to keep driving it. What else am I going to do? If they won't take the truck in, they won't get it looked at by Freightliner, you keep on trucking, I guess. So we are 2 weeks into my trainee driving. So we've put on probably about 5,000 miles with the check engine light on. And today, this morning I took off, and the truck shifted really funny. I don't know if it's got anything to do with what else is going on, but I've also been having problems with the transmission a little bit. And so I'm driving down the road, and that little service engine light started intermittently coming on, and it hadn't come on in a couple of weeks. And so I thought that was kind of weird. I'm like, well, okay, could be a problem. And I started to notice that it did start to lose a little bit of power. And so I stopped, and I've noticed over the last couple of days that the idling has been getting a little rougher, and it's starting to feel like it's kind of starting to get a miss in the engine idling. And those of you that have been in a truck for a long time, you know the difference of a 6-cylinder V6 or V8 or diesel engine. When they're idling, they idle smooth. They don't hesitate. They don't vibrate. They don't shudder, they don't do any of that stuff. Well, this truck has done a little bit of everything. A little bit of shuddering, a little bit of vibrating, a little bit of shaking, and a little bit of chirping. So this thing has been making all kinds of noise when it's idling, and I'm like, this just is not right. So anyway, start driving down the road today, and I start to hear this knock. And y'all know that knock. If you've never heard, just about everybody who's driven gasoline engines around long enough, and if you've been around long enough, you know what a knocking engine sounds like. It ain't good. Oh, it ain't good. And so you know that your time's limited, and you got to get the truck down, and you got to get it to a shop, and you got to get it off the road as soon as possible. So I call up road maintenance again, the breakdown department, and I said, hey, you know that check engine light that I told you guys about months ago? I said, well, now there's a very loud knock coming from my engine, and it does not sound good. So they're like, all right, well, let's get you routed to Murray. 380 miles away. Okay, whatever you say. So, yeah, I started trucking. I made it about maybe 40 miles, 60 miles down the road. And as I'm driving, y'all, this knock is getting progressively a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a little bit worse. And I'm pulling up to these stoplights, and it's starting to get rough on the idle when the engine RPMs get down to about 400. It goes, knock. And so I had it, under full power, under speed. The knocking would go away, but as soon as it got up to 65 miles an hour, the knock would come back. And so I would alternate between full power, and I'd let it back off 5 miles an hour, and I'd put it back under power again so that it wasn't making the loud noise. Well, evidently that didn't work. So I get into this little town down the road down here, and I had to put it in neutral so that I could feather the throttle to keep the RPMs up so it wouldn't die on me at the stoplight. And then it gave me a engine shutdown, 30 seconds, while I'm driving down the road. And luckily it went away. I didn't hit the shutdown override, but as soon as I turned off the road and found this nice big old gravel parking lot to get the truck into, I went ahead and called breakdown, and I said, this truck's done. I can't drive it anymore. It's starting to do the engine protection shutdown. And when I go to shut it off, it diesels and knocks really bad, and it won't shut down right away. And there's this little thing called runaway diesel, where since it's on the intake side, if there's any oil leaks that are leaking on the intake side, if that engine starts to get a fuel source of engine oil and it ignites that engine oil, the truck will not shut down, and it'll run away, and it'll blow up the engine. So I haven't turned it back on to see if it'll fire up so I can get it separated away from the trailer. So needless to say, the truck is done. So I'm still hooked to my trailer. I'm waiting for a tow truck to show up so that we can get this trailer set down on the ground and we can get the tractor pulled out. Somebody else is on their way to come get this load. And I guess it's going to be towed to a Freightliner. We'll probably stay in a hotel room tonight, and then we'll probably have to get a rental car. Hopefully I'll get a minivan or something where I can store all my stuff, because I'm going to have to move out of this truck. And then they will issue me another truck recovery to go recover another truck. Because instead of waiting in a hotel room, they just put us in another truck and put us under dispatch and keep us rolling, which is nice. It's just moving from truck to truck when a truck breaks down, and it's not fun. I've been driving a long time. I've been driving trucks since 2006, and I did take quite a bit of time off, and my total overall experience is about 7 years. And so when I tell a shop that there's something wrong with the engine and they blow me off, it kind of upsets me a little bit. So the next time I get this gut feeling that I shouldn't be taking the truck back out and I should go get another truck or get another truck. I had the truck in the shop, and they couldn't get the codes to go away all the way. So basically they would clear the codes and the engine light would come back on, and they said that there was a intake manifold high temperature. Well, I'm not a rocket scientist and I'm not a diesel technician, but it seems to me that if you have an intake manifold temperature setting or reading that is too high or above normal parameters, you should stop, take it to a shop, and figure out why. Because now that they haven't done that, and it's had a dead cylinder for Lord knows how long, basically what happened, and I won't be able to crack the head open and probably won't get to know what happened, but I bet I know what happened. The intake valve over that dead cylinder has broken, because on the valve train, if it's firing across all 6 of those intake valves, and they're going up and down, and there's a imbalance in the way that those rockers are lifting, then basically you have an out of balance across your camshaft. And so either the camshaft lobe got worn down enough to where it snapped off the intake valve, or maybe a spring broke over the valve, or maybe the injector broke. Who knows? All I do know is that, if you've got a high temperature sensor reading on your intake manifold, there's probably a darn good reason. And all I know is that when I did get the truck shut down, it smelled like scorched Teflon. And the engine oil smells like scorched Teflon. So I don't know what they put inside these heads that would smell like Teflon, but it can't be good. So, yep. Truck is down, waiting on a tow truck, and it's going to be moving day. So the benefits of it is that PTO will pay me breakdown pay. PTO will reimburse me to go and they'll put me in a hotel room, and they'll pay to get me a rental car, and then they will pay to have me do a truck recovery. And I have a trainee with me to help me with all of my stuff. So as bad as it could be, as bad as it is, it could be worse. And yeah, so you just gotta roll with what you can and get on the other side of it and keep on trucking. Kind of a bad deal. I really wish that the shop would have listened to me and put me in a different truck when I asked them to. But hey, I like to say, what do I know? I'm just a trucker. I couldn't possibly know more than the technicians that work on these things. Even though I've been driving them for 7 years, I think I know a thing or two about a truck that sounds right and a truck that doesn't sound right. So a good skilled operator will be able to tell when something's wrong with their equipment. But a lot of guys, and with these bigger fleets that hire new guys, there are a lot of them out there that don't know what they're talking about, but unfortunately they don't listen to the ones that do know what they're talking about. Which kind of turns around and bites them in the butt, because I could have saved them a very expensive tow bill and a truck recovery rigmarole and runaround. So I could have taken care of all this, gotten out of the truck, and they could have sent the truck over to the shop, over to the Freightliner, and had it looked at while it was at their yard. And I was ready to move out of the truck because I didn't want to drive it anymore because of these check engine lights. So boys and girls, moral of the story is do not ignore your check engine lights. They will shut you down. And you have no idea where they will shut you down. I am in the middle of nowhere in Missouri, and just barely made it into this parking lot. I was on my way to get to a fuel stop about 6 miles up the road, couldn't make it. I didn't want anything to explode. And that thing started knocking really bad. I was like, oh, it sounds like this engine's going to fall apart. So, yep, dead in the water. So don't ignore those check engine lights, folks. If you've got a check engine light, the shop's telling you to keep on driving it. Keep on driving it until you can get it back to a yard and then get out of it. And if that check engine light keeps coming on, you tell them, I will not drive this truck with a check engine light, because this is what will happen to you. And I am very lucky that I was able to get this truck into this parking lot and that I didn't break down on the road out there. So that's all I've got. Thanks for watching. And again, don't ignore those check engine lights. Get it to a shop, get out of that truck, and get into something that doesn't have a check engine light. Thanks for watching. Bye.